When you show up at events, how are you presenting yourself? What is the message that you're trying to send to the world about who you are? Who is it, the man that you are, by the message that you send and the clothes that you wear, the way that you act, the way that you talk, how you shake someone's hand? Have you ever thought about that? Most people, especially men, minute and minimize the idea that their appearance actually matters. When they were younger, it actually mattered to them. They cared that they had muscle. When they played sports, it mattered that they looked good. Before they got married, it mattered because it attracted the female to them. They weren't seen as someone weak. So why is it now that you're an adult and you've secured the prize, you have the woman, you have the children, you have the bank account, but you don't have the muscle, you don't have the image, you don't care about that? Have you ever thought that maybe you're leaving opportunity on the table because you have diminished the value in the presentation that you give to the world? That people may not necessarily appreciate you to the level of greatness that you are because you don't see the greatness that you are, that you don't put the effort into the opportunity of presenting yourself at your best? Getting dressed in the morning is a ritual. Putting on clothes that resemble the man that you are is a great experience that most men devalue. And it's a sadness for me to see that there's many families that I see at the mall walking around. The wife is beautiful. She takes care of herself. She puts effort into the way she looks for her husband. She presents her children in a way that show the family cares about the children. And then there's the fat husband in a shirt that he probably wore when he was in college that has grease stains on it from the fried chicken that he wore and ate last night, and the beer stains and the belly that hangs out because he just didn't value himself. He put his responsibility into making money and supplying an income for his family that gave them experiences. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you going out and earning a living for your family. But what I am saying is wrong is that you stopped valuing the presentation of yourself to your family. What is the example that you're setting for your children? Do they feel like they should care about their presentation, that they should care about their health? By you not setting the example for them because you don't care about you, you cannot get mad at them for not wanting to eat their vegetables. You cannot get mad at them for wanting to eat McDonald's all the time when you come home and demand a beer because you've had a hard day at work. It's unfortunate that we as men have released the responsibility of our presentation, of the way that we put ourselves out into the world. And it's also the greatest opportunity that we have to show that we respect not only our beautiful wives, our amazing children, the family that we've worked so hard to give great opportunities to. It's the best way for you to show that you respect yourself. If you struggle with not getting respect from your peers, take care of yourself better. Exercise. Get your body into a physical shape where you can be proud when you take off those clothes to make love to your wife. When you look in the mirror, that should be your most confident moment when you're standing there naked. Yeah. Look good, feel great, with or without your clothes on. Should be something that you live by. Those moments are the moments that we don't need anything else to feel confident in who we are, and they resemble the man that we are. They influence the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis. And if you're having a hard time with that, start small, work larger. It's an opportunity for you to show your family that they matter because you're taking care of yourself and no longer are you a liability. Show your family that you love them. Roll that intro. I want to welcome you to the Man Up and Own It podcast, where we talk about situations and experiences that men face on a day-to-day basis that may make them feel uncomfortable, that may pull out their insecurities. And I have a very wicked awesome guest today. I'm going to introduce you to wicked awesome Dave.
Hey, thank you, brother. Thank you for having me here with you. I'm so excited about a much needed podcast that you have going on, because a lot of us men, right, we see it everywhere, have forgotten how to be men.
Absolutely.
You know, it's toxic masculinity and all these other things, buzzwords, right, that we hear. And I loved what you were saying earlier about presentation. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Boston area. My mom's side of the family is Italian. My grandfather, although he was a plumber, always, when he wasn't working, dressed nice, in at least khakis at a minimum. And I was like, I was little, you know, and I was like, Pa, you're a plumber. Why are you dressed like this? And he said, David, you got to dress for who you are. You have to dress for where you want to be and who you want to be with and what you want to be like. And I was like, but you're a plumber. He said, that's what I do for work. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm much more than that. And I was like, okay, all right. But it just started from that. And then my dad, you know, when he wasn't working, he was a mailman. He always dressed nice, you know, not like a suit, but not like a tatted T-shirt and just shitty ass jeans, you know, all wrecked up and what such. Not that you paid for them that way, you know, because I know that seems for a lot of people. But it was always important. And then when I got into college, my grandfather's like, David, dress for the job that you want, dress for the position that you want, dress for the man that you want to be, rather than where you are.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, and I always have adopted that.
Interesting.
It's important for us to present ourselves correctly,
100%.
Right? To me, it's a dual edge of respect to myself, mm-hmm. and also to the person that I'm meeting with. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm in finance and I do a whole bunch of other stuff, and you should dress up for who you're going to meet with.
Absolutely.
You know, in certain industries, it's more important, right, than others. Mm-hmm. If I came in a polo shirt and shorts and I was coming to talk to you about like money and investing, you might be like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy, you know. But showing up in a suit, that's a big difference, right? People, at least it'll start to open their mind, or it'll start a cool conversation, because I have a lot of people out here that are like, hey, man, you're not on the East Coast anymore. You don't have to dress like that. And I'm like, right, you guys are dressed down here, and that's fine. That's how you do it. But that's not how I do it. That's not how we do it on the East Coast. You get ready properly for every interaction.
It sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
Makes you stand out. And then you're the memorable guy.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. When I was a kid, man, I was the most forgettable kid, because I was kind of a quiet kid and I didn't want to stand out. You know, a lot of trouble growing up and whatever, you know, teenage stuff, being bullied, all kinds of, my parents getting divorced when I was 14. So like I had a lot of baggage that I didn't realize then. And it made it made it very fun and interesting for my friends to be around me when I got out of the shell of trying to just blend in and be invisible as much as possible. But that was never really, I never felt good, you know? I just didn't feel good about myself trying to blend in and be invisible. And then I had my favorite teacher in high school to end of senior year, and he's asking everybody, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? It was Marketing 3 class. And so he's like, David, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be the CEO of a marketing, you know, company, and I'm gonna crush it. I'm gonna be running stuff. And he's like, you'll never do that. And I was like, what? I was like, Mr. G, what are you talking about? And he's like, you'll never do that. And I was like, of course I'm from Boston. So I'm like, yo, what the fuck? You know, I started to kind of bow up a little bit. And he's like, The person that you are now will never have that. However, it's inside you to have that. You have to grow to it. You have to find that person. You have this version of you isn't going to get it. There is a version of you that'll get everything you want and more. And I didn't get that at the time. I was just like, what a jerk, you know? But man, that was some of the best advice I ever got in my life. That is still what drives me today to do a better job, right? To walk as close to Jesus' path as I possibly can as a sinner, and somebody that makes a lot of mistakes. But hey, we fail forward, right? A good running back falls forward. Right. We fail forward, and that's all right. But that was such an earth-shattering thing for me to realize, wow, I can do anything I want. I can be anything I want, but this isn't doing it. So how do I find that version of myself? You know,
I like how he challenged you.
Yeah,
it wasn't a demeaning like you're never going to succeed, because he gave you an opportunity by showing you that if you create a new persona and you develop that and grow that, it's not just going to happen overnight.
Right.
That you can have what you want.
Exactly.
Your actions determine what you deserve.
Totally. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So what was it that like really pushed you into being Wicked Awesome Dave? Like, I'm excited to hear this.
Thank you. Well, so standing out, right? That's just who I am, right? Went in the Air Force. I was all over the world, and I got out, moved to Colorado, did very well there for a job I never planned on, and absolutely destroyed it. I did shit they never even thought about out there in the home improvement industry and sales training and all this stuff. I learned every sales technique that there is, and I consciously don't use most of them.
Interesting.
Because the traditional 10-step, I don't like to manipulate people.
Yeah.
I like to sit alongside them and consult and help them to make a decision that they would have made anyway had they all the information. That's kind of, now at first, when I first learned sales, it was more of the manipulative, oh yeah, you can walk them down a path to get yes, and then bam, you know, they're going to do it. And that's all right too. But I just it didn't sit with me. It just wasn't comfortable. It wasn't authentic to me. And I was like, all right, well, and then of course, living in Colorado, living anywhere outside of the Boston area, I stand out. You know, whether what I'm wearing or talking or whatever. However, in Colorado, I had no need to meet anybody, because the company that I worked with when I was, you know, running their Western region, we had a telemarketing room, we had mailers, we had TV spots, we had door knockers, you name it. We had every way to generate a lead possible. And we had a little incentive for us to, you know, generate our own business, but I didn't network at all.
Interesting.
And when I got sent out here for a job that didn't work out, I started doing insurance after that. And I was like, oh man, I need to meet people. Yep. I don't know, people are the engine that drives business, and I got no people. I'm in big trouble here, you know? And so I joined every networking organization there was, from Chambers of Commerce to BNI to LaTip to you name it. I was a part of Networking 360, like Thomas's. You name it, I was a part of the organization for the first couple of years. And I went to every event I could. Man, I would go to like 12 to 15 events a week, just trying to meet people, because I was in a new industry. I had, you know, my son, Christopher, was 5 at the time, and I'm like, oh man, we got to do this thing, right? And I liked a lot of the stuff about a lot of those groups, but there was things that I didn't like also. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, some of the meetings, some of the events felt kind of forced or cliquey, or, you know, whatever, maybe inauthentic, or the networking was stopped for drawings and 30-second commercials or minute commercials, and I'm like, well, I was talking to man. And then now you're listening to all this, and you're like, ah, shit, who was I talking to? What were we talking about? I just listened to 40 other people's stuff, which I might want to know, but not right now. Right?
It's not what I need at this exact moment.
At this exact moment. So I was like, a couple of friends of mine, they were like, hey, man, you should just start a happy hour. And I was like, man, I used to do that in the Air Force. I did that in college.
Interesting.
Yeah, just like throwing a party.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, yeah, I can throw a party. I'm good at that. I'll chuck one left or right. It's all good. Let's do it. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, ooh, professional. Ooh, what's that? All right, professional party. Oh, man. Whatever. It's the same thing. Same thing. It's all good. Just get a whole bunch of people. Let's go. And so the referral group I was part of at the time, they used to meet, once a month, once every couple months and have beers. And the guy that had started that had left. And I was like, yeah, let's do a happy hour. A couple of people said. And so the first one, March of 2014, 12 people showed up and I was excited. I had a couple of buddies that were like, bro, you okay? They're like, it's only, I was like, this is great. I'm like, I don't even know them 9 people, man. I'm like, yeah, this is all. I was like pumped that somebody actually showed up that I didn't know to something that I did in a new state, in a new place, in a new industry and all that. I was like, this shit's great, man. I love it. And they were like, all right, whatever, bro. And I was like, all right, I'm doing it next month. I'm going to do it every month. Been doing it every month legally when we could, other than there was a few months, back in 2020.
So yeah, we'll pretend like those days didn't exist.
Although, with the mindset that I have, I still did my happy hour every month that I possibly could, including that little window when things opened up for like 2 weeks or 17 days. It just happened to fall on the third Wednesday is when I do Wicked Awesome Happy Hour. And we had a huge event outside, but it was a lot of people, including, city officials and all good. It was amazing. And we had the stuff on there. We had whatever, but it was outside. It was a huge group. And most other groups went to Zoom only at that time. There's still some that don't meet in person anymore. I was like, that is not Wicked Awesome. You know what? Wicked Awesome is not that. Wicked Awesome is, getting people together and connecting.
Absolutely.
Right? When people come to my happy hour, especially if it's somebody that I see that was like me, like more on the quiet end, I go up and greet everybody. Whether it's 90 people or 190 people, doesn't matter. I at least say hi. Thank you for coming. I'm psyched. Is there anybody that you'd like to meet? What type of person? What type of business? How can I help you the most? But those people that are really shy and like walk in and they're like, just like looking around because there's like 100 strangers like being all loud and what such. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm happy that you're here. How did you hear about this? And if you could meet anybody that would benefit you greatly, personally or professionally, what would that person look like? What would they be doing? And invariably, whatever they say, there's already somebody like that there. So I'll be like, all right, come on, let's go. Sometimes I got to grab them by like the hand and be like, no, seriously, let's go. He's right here or she's right there. Let's go. And that introduce, blah, 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 a couple of things. Boom, go do it. I started the group not only to meet people, but I love helping people. And I grew up with not very much and not really the access to things, not the knowledge about how money worked, just a lot of stuff that I didn't grow up with. If your parents don't know it and haven't experienced it, how can they teach you?
Absolutely.
Right? They can't. And I was a little bit upset with them at first, but then I realized, how can they do? They're going to do it. It's all good. They're fine. They did the best that they could with what they had. Right. And thankfully I made it to adulthood. That's wonderful. Good job, you guys. Shit, that's great. But with the happy hour, from the very beginning, I remember there was somebody like the second, maybe third month. He had a rough day, a buddy of mine, and he was just talking some smack about somebody. And I was like, hey, we're not doing that here. We don't do that here. I understand you had a bad day, and that's all right. That happens. You're not talking about that here. I'm like, you're here to have fun. You're here to meet some people. So either put that aside for now, or you can leave. Either or, I'm cool with it.
I love that.
And he was like, and then he was like, all right, man, I'm sorry. I didn't, yeah, you're right. And now, like, I'll be walking around my event, and I've heard people say that, hey, brother, I'm sorry you had a bad day. We're not talking about this. This isn't what that is about. This isn't about that stuff. Let's focus on the task at hand. Let's meet some people. You're going to have a better day just by being in this environment. It's about abundance, right? Those of us that are Christians or really anybody that believes in a higher power.
Yeah.
All religions, when you look at them all, the foundation is love.
Absolutely.
For just about everything, right?
Yep.
Maybe not like, Satanism or some shit like that, but everything else, right? Yeah. But like everything else, every other religion is about love. So if all these different people from all over the earth over thousands of years have the same foundation, then that must be truth.
Right.
So
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that you brought up holding your friend accountable. what do you think the value in holding other men accountable for a higher standard actually is?
It goes right back to that love, right? Because if you love somebody and they're messing up, you're going to let them know. Or if they're doing something that you can help correct them, you're going to do it because you love them and you want them to be and do better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say the difference between being nice and being kind is?
Both of those terms, let me see. Being nice, I think people take nice for granted sometimes, right? Don't mistake, like the famous Capone quote, which I love, don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yes.
For if, we disagree, that's certainly not what you'll remember about me or something like that. A lot of people are kind. You can be kind to anybody, right? But I think just that word has gotten a bad rap or whatever. It just seems like when people appear to be kind or nice, people want to try to roll over them. Not everybody. And it's having that love for each other that I'm very nice person. I'm very, very kind person as far as considering the other person, not necessarily the feelings, but how can I help them in whatever interaction, right? And with my friends, same thing. Man, if I can do anything, if you need help at 3 a.m, I'm there with whatever I need to be there with, because that's kindness stemming out of that love, right? Nice is he did whatever for me. It was nice. It's underappreciated, I think.
So I have a concept that nice is telling people what they want to hear.
Okay.
You make them feel good in the moment. And you may not tell them the actual truth because maybe your shirt didn't look good on you. I'm like, "Oh, that's a great shirt." But you look like shit.
Right. Yeah.
And instead I'd be like, telling someone the truth is being kind, like you did to your friend.
Yes.
Maybe you were uncomfortable in that moment and you had a question in your head, like, should I be doing this?
Exactly.
But you knew the outcome was the best for him. And that's being kind.
Yeah.
Because you knew that opportunity was to help him become the better version of himself.
Yeah.
You telling him, "Oh, it's okay," condoning it would have been nice.
Right.
You holding him accountable was kind.
That makes complete sense. I like that, brother. That's
Awesome.
a good way to put it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Was it uncomfortable for you in that moment to hold him accountable?
Yeah, it was. Because in the past, nobody really likes to do that stuff.
Right.
But you got to do what's necessary. And I was thinking not only of him, but a little selfishly, well, this is my happy hour. I've got to create the culture, right? I have to create that feel of the event. When people walk in, man, they feel, they're like, man, this is great. I feel happiness. I feel love. I feel, whatever. And you have to almost jealously guard that as far as your environment, your feel of your event, because if you let one little thing slip, right, it's a slippery slope. Look at the manhood thing. Let one little thing slip, and now, what the heck? Now kids are having trouble defining what a man actually is.
Absolutely.
Right. So in that moment, I was uncomfortable, but the little bit of discomfort was well worth the message that needed to be delivered and the benefit that was done.
And look at the outcome in the end that actually happened for you. If you wouldn't have set that standard in that moment, imagine what probably would have happened.
Right.
There would have been a bunch of condoning of ill behavior, right? There's a thing that I like to try to remind myself of is the actions that we take permit other people to follow suit.
That's good.
And if we do things that are inappropriate, we're telling everybody else that it's okay.
Right.
And by you standing up to him and telling him to be held accountable, the likelihood that he went around and did it for other people, you just created this very beneficial effect.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question for you. Like you brought up earlier about your grandpappy teaching you about, dressing for the job that you want. Did that have other impact in other parts of your life? Were you able to relate that to other things?
I was able to relate that to everything, right? Not just the dressing, right? But grooming, all that stuff, right? And of course the dating. My gosh, you don't have to be the best looking guy if you're dressed nice, right? If you're dressed up, whether it's whatever, right? Even if it's a new cool clean t-shirt, right? And some cool jeans, right? Whatever it is for whatever phase of your life that you might be in or activity and stuff, that's helped everything. That's helped me with clients. That's helped me do just shit I never would have even thought of. Like I had a friend and she felt she was taking advantage of buying a car. And I was like, well, why isn't your boyfriend going to go with you? She's like, I don't want to bring him to ask for a refund. And I was like, why? He's your guy. And she was like, oh, yeah, he doesn't like that kind of confrontation and stuff. I was like, okay, whatever. And I was like, I don't know if you should keep seeing that guy, but it's none of my business. And I was like, okay, I'll be there this time, place, boom. I happened to have a meeting with the mayor earlier in the day. I had some meetings with some C-level executives later in the day. So I had a good-looking pinstripe suit on. I was ready to rock. So when I walked into this car dealership, immediately the general manager was like, hi, can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, you can help me. I'm like, where's your office? And he's like, oh, it's over here. I was like, great. So I just started walking towards his office. He takes us both in there. And I was like, this is my friend, so-and-so. She bought a vehicle from you, and she's having all kinds of issues. Can you explain what's happening? So she did. Well, I called you guys, talked to you guys, blah, 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 give her the runaround, all that, trying to let it get over the time where you can't return the lemon or whatever. And he was like, well, yeah, that's standard bunch of bullshit, right? So I'm just sitting there, and I was like, I understand what your policies are. I also understand what the law is. Do you think you're wrong? And he was like, well, no, I mean, it's the standard of what we do. And I was like, that's a pretty shitty standard. And I was like, well, this is what I think should happen. I think my friend should not only get a refund for that, not only be able to return it, cancel the loan, and refund her all of her money, everything that she's paid. That's what I think should happen here. And he was like, well, I don't know. And then he's like looking at me, he's like, well, so why are you dressed like that? I was like, I'm dressed like this every day. I said, this is an inconvenience for me to come and talk to you. But she's my friend. And I don't like my friends getting taken advantage of. And you supposedly have a good name in this community because I checked you guys out. But this isn't what people do with a good name. So long story short, he was like, okay, we'll take the car back. We're going to give her money back, everything. Plus they gave her a little extra, which was nice. And as we were walking out, he's like, please don't tell anybody where this happened. And I said, I'm going to tell everybody if I hear about it again. And I was like, that's not how a man does the business. And that's not how we treat each other, especially taking advantage of
a woman.
Yep. A single woman. First time she bought a car by herself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, come on, man, that's disgusting as a guy. And he's like, well, I can do better. I was like, good. I was like, I'll send business here if I feel like it's a safe place. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, okay.
Did you ever hear any of them improving their standards after that?
I swung back in like a hat and like a t-shirt and stuff like that. And I just chilling. I was a friend was looking for a vehicle, and I was like, yeah, let me just see if it's here. I'm driving by it, and so I was like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. And he came out, and he was like, hey, how you doing? Can I help you? And I turned around, and he's like, oh. Good to see you. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, how we doing? He's like, we haven't had any incidences of the lemon law thing. And he's like, you're right. I thought about some stuff and talked with the owner. And you're right. Integrity is key. And you know what? We've done a lot more in sales the last few months since. I was like, isn't that fantastic? I was like, that's what it's all about. I was like, I told him, you should be proud. That's awesome. I'm happy that that you were able to make some changes from a negative situation.
Do you think men in today face integrity issues?
Constantly. Because the right thing to do is always the toughest thing to do. And the least popular thing to do is usually the right thing to do in today's culture. So,
I mean, we live in a society of comfort and ease.
Right.
And almost the hard thing or the most difficult thing to do, like you said, is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But when our societal standard is do the easiest thing possible, why would anybody want to do it?
The easiest thing, the easiest way is always the hardest and most painful way. Always. when you try to shortcut stuff, when you try to just go along to get along, that just leads to misery and woe. Yep. I would rather smack it in the face and have a little temporary pain and be all good in the future, right?
I mean, our bodies are a prime example of that, right? Like you look at people that are massively overweight. They didn't do the difficult thing, and that was to pay attention to what they eat and to exercise and to hold themselves accountable.
Exactly.
Once again, we're right back to that accountability.
Yeah. And that's, a chat that I've had with, my son. He's a senior this year. And, it's one of those talks that you have, because he likes to dress however he wants, which is fine. But I was like, hey, if we're going to church or we're going to an event, you're dressing up. You got clothes. And he's like, oh, yeah. And like one time when he was little, at like 11, he tried that shit. I was like, oh, no, we'll be late. Go change. He's like, but you hate being late. I was like, I do, but this I hate more. Yeah. And he was like, oh, man. But yeah, it's important, like we talked about, fitting in. That's baloney. Yep. Right? All of us are individuals. All of us have amazing gifts that we can offer to people. We just can't be scared about doing it. Right. You just gotta go ahead and seek the right thing, seek that win-win situation, and you gotta have a moral compass. Yep. Like the best example I know is stopping at a stop sign. Like, do you roll through that at 3 a.m? There's nobody here. Forget stopping. I'm just gonna blast it. No, I still stop, and I look, and I look, and I look, and I go.
So you don't do a California stop?
No. Not unless I'm being chased. Then that's a whole different cat chase. That's a whole different thing.
Wicked awesome Dave be rolling stop signs only while he's chased.
But no, that's just it's a little thing, right? But it's integrity.
Absolutely.
And if we exercise that at every possible opportunity, it's going to strengthen that muscle, right?
It's interesting you said it's a little tiny thing. I have a belief that the little things are a great example of what the big things will entitle.
That's right.
If someone doesn't wear decent clothes, well, what else are they missing? What else are they dropping the details on?
I agree, man.
It's crazy that we have came into a point in our society that we don't care about those things.
Yeah.
What do you think men could do to improve the quality of their life right now?
Be a man.
How so?
Don't just bow to whatever is told, right? Don't not correct a friend because you think it might hurt their feelings, right? Be genuinely kind, like you said. Do the hard things. It's okay to say no. Or every once in a while, somebody will be like, oh man, I'm going to do this, and that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, how about this? Have you thought about that? No? Okay. Maybe not do that then. Or somebody might ask something and they would assume, right, a yes. No.
Yeah.
No. And then here's why. I'm not just saying it to be a dick.
Right.
This is why I don't want to do or invest in or whatever it is that you wanted to do. And at least they know, KNOW,
exactly
what the no meant.
I think that's a big opportunity right there, is to go into further detail.
That's so important, because we're jerks or whatever if we just flat refuse whatever, or if there's an action or interaction that we take with somebody that goes different than what they thought. I always strive to, at least, use that as a teaching moment.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I had a discussion with one of my friends when I speak. One of the first things I say is, this is my alignment: God, country, family. And people, like, I had a couple of friends that were like, what do you mean? God, family, country? I'm like, nah, no. God is first. Obviously, we would have nothing without him. Country is second, because if you don't have a place to live, you don't have a home, then what does the family matter? If your family is working against where you live or whatever, you have to have a home to be able to bring up a proper family, right? So that's why people are like, oh, wow, I don't agree with that, but I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to.
Right.
I'm just letting you know that's me. That's how I'm aligned, and that's why I love sharing the thought process behind things that I do and things that I say, because people did that for me. I used to be a lot different than this. But, I just try to get better every time.
Right.
I mean, I was one of those guys in my 20s as I was like, really like wilding out and all that shit. I would have no problem throwing down at the drop of a hat, right? Like somebody would say something and I would try to talk my way out of it or talk my group of friends out of getting into whatever. But I had a very good talent of realizing when that was no longer going to happen and then just jump on it right then and there. Just go. But yeah, they're still yapping. Done. They got a whole, fist or shoe in their mouth. That's all good.
What size of shoe do you wear?
14.
Holy shit. If you saw this guy in real life, you'd realize he's what, like 6'3", 6'4"? He's a
6'3".
big dude. A 14 in your mouth.
But and that was coming from a place of fear, right? Like when we're younger, we feel like we got to have this bravado. We don't really know. We kind of know, right, what our dad and our grandfather or the male figures in our life taught us. But we're deciding whether we're internalizing that and going to adopt that for ourselves, right? We're still kind of feeling that whole being a man thing out.
Right.
And sometimes we might have had a poor example. A lot of guys do. That's so important about mentorship and getting, groups of men together.
Absolutely.
Because iron, sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just important because everyone's in a different spot, whether it's their faith journey or their work journey or their family journey or whatever it is. And I love being around other men, especially that are further along the journey than where I am, so that I can help, it helps me shortcut success, or I see it for other guys and I'm like, yeah, man, look, come here. Let me tell you a couple of things.
Right.
And then, oh man, I really would have screwed that one up. Good thing you told me, whatever. Because that's how things were done in the past. I mean, back in the day, way back, there was apprenticeships, right? And we've lost that kind of as a culture for the most part, but it was also being done within the family for the most part, or the community, on how to raise a man.
The community used to raise the children, not just the individuals, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you brought up your grandpappy giving you advice. Mine taught me one that I try to hold on to. A smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from others' mistakes. And by you recognizing the opportunity to pass information on to someone else and to seek information from others that are further along in specific parts of their journey shows that you seek wisdom. I do want to know, how do you deal with your insecurities?
There's not as many as there used to be.
Well, of course not.
Whenever I have a thought, right, or a feeling, and I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking some of the old way, insecure about something, then I kind of drill down on, all right, why am I feeling like this? And just kind of think through it. And a lot of the stuff stems from earlier in life, and some of it stems from the programming, right, that we can get. But I don't have as many insecurities as I used to.
Is it that you don't have as many, or you have learned how to handle them more appropriately?
That's probably a better answer. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you've picked up tools and skills along the way to be able to recognize something before it becomes an actual problem.
Yeah. Yes. And like, one of the things is like being in your comfort zone, right? Everyone comfortable. It was all warm and cozy and all that. Yeah. That's nice when it's winter somewhere, but it's not really that nice in your life. Not that you want to be in misery and discomfort, but a lot of times that comfort zone, I believe at least, that comfort zone is the voice of the adversary.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want you to live to God's fullest potential that God has bestowed upon you and has within you. He doesn't want that. So the more fearful I am about something, I just jump in and do that shit as fast as I can. Yeah.
So I like recognizing the uncomfort and preparing myself to overcome uncomfort with training in the gym.
That's awesome.
I feel like it's the easiest way to put myself in a situation that's uncomfortable. When I'm under a bunch of weight and my body's like, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, oh, you have to, or you're going to get crushed. Then I start to recognize it, that I can overcome it. And then I take those principles of learning that I can overcome uncomfortable moments and applying them to everything else.
That's awesome.
Do you exercise?
I do. I do not a lot, but I do.
What do you like to do?
I'm kind of boring, walking, that stuff. A little bit of push-ups, crunches, that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy.
I could see you doing like parkour or something.
I like shooting some hoops, Okay. Totally, man. Yeah. I used to, when I was in high school, I ran track, and when I was in the Air Force in basic training, like the SF, the Special Forces, will come and they'll be like, all right, who wants to be, combat, pararescue or combat control or TAC B or whatever. Yeah. So a bunch of us, right, in basic training went and tried out. The swim got me. I could not swim a mile and a half at that time. Probably can't now. That was a long ass swim. But the running, I did 2 miles in like 11 minutes.
Really?
Just over 11 minutes. And I was like, wasn't that bad. And then like the sit-ups crushed it, blew it out. I missed by one pull-up, being the first person in the class, that was trying out. And I'm glad that I came in second. Usually I'm not. But in that case, it would have completely changed my life. I would have gone to, with my friend who was in Ranger School, even though I was Air Force, the TAC P guy is the radio operator that calls in airstrikes and drops in with an Army unit and stuff like that. So the best unit you can be with is the Rangers. Come on. The 82nd Airborne, and I was like, the first would have been able to go to school with those guys. The second, it was whatever the Air Force said. And I was like, I'm not going to go by with what the Air Force said. I already knew that from before I got in when I was signing my paperwork. I was like, yeah, no. Guaranteed, man. You're going to tell me some shit. No. I want that in writing. I want it notarized. I want like a picture of what, I don't know. But you're not just going to tell me some stuff. So, it was good that I came in second, because I wouldn't have had Christopher,
Right.
My path would have been completely different. Who knows?
Right.
You
may not be Wicked Awesome Dave.
I probably wouldn't be Wicked Awesome Dave. I'd be somewhere in the world
Extreme
handling
Dave.
some stuff. Yeah, Wicked Extreme.
Dude, I really think it's cool, and especially now hearing what got Wicked Awesome going, I think it's really cool. And I actually look forward to seeing your posts from your events. I wish that I didn't live on the other side of Phoenix so I could go to these things.
Just fill up a car load of people. There you're good.
Okay. I'm going to take your challenge up on that one.
Brother.
So tell the people out there how they can get in contact with Wicked Awesome Dave.
All right, everybody. I'm on like every social platform that there is. I'm on X, Dave on Walter _ Well, just look for this face. There's a picture of the suit and all that shit. Also, Facebook, Wicked Awesome Happy Hour is the group. And, of course, Dave Waltzer is the personal page. Instagram, Dave Waltzer, a.k.a. Boston Dave. And then Wicked Awesome Events is the page on Instagram. And I'm on LinkedIn as well.
All right.
My full legal name, David Waltzer. So.
You got a bunch of ways to find Wicked Awesome Dave. Now, what's one statement that you could make to men out there to live a better life?
Do the right thing, especially when it's the worst option.
All right. You heard that. It's difficult, and it's going to be difficult, and you're going to find yourself in situations where you may not necessarily believe that doing the right thing is the easiest thing to do, but if you do it, you're going to get the results that you want in the end.
Yep. Long-term gain. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Stop looking for the short-term solution when you want a long-term life. All right?
Exactly.
So it's been an honor to have you here, Dave, on the Man Up and Own It podcast, where we deal with situations and experiences that men are facing and help give you an opportunity to find solutions that might help make your life better in the end.